All right, so NASA has announced that they are preparing to send astronauts back to the moon by 2024, and they want this next astronaut to be a woman. This was announced by Mike Pence, the vice president, and I think that's good that we are beginning to think about space again. However, I do have some concerns, and I'm going to share them with you. First of all, I think that we've become very idle on the subject of space, and we haven't taken space seriously. And it's a shame, and we could be way ahead by now if we had used our brains. But the problem is we're not using our brains. And I think the human race is at a point where we are acting just like the ancient Africans and the ancient Native Americans who didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were right in front of their noses. So after this video is done, you people, especially you people who live in developed nations, should never feel the need, if you disagree with me especially, to criticize people in developing nations who don't take their country seriously, because we're not taking our situation seriously as well. Now, we're planning to go to the moon, okay. And of course, we're going to be doing the whole politically correct thing. We're going to be doing the whole, what's that word? Social engineering by sending a woman up there. I don't have a problem with sending a woman up there. I'm just saying this is just a sign that I don't think we're going to be taking this seriously. It's just going to be another mission where we go to the moon and put a flag there and then bring some rocks back, and that's it. It's the same thing that all these space explorations have been. I mean, we have a space station up there, okay, but what are people doing in that space station? What's happening there? I mean, we send satellites up in space, we send all sorts of things up in space, but we haven't done anything serious. I mean, we go up to space, and what are we doing? I mean, what are we doing? What's the purpose of all this satellites? We send so many satellites. I mean, I'm expecting my television to have 150 trillion channels. Well, I don't watch television anymore. It's all internet now. But television, that's the boomer age. But you guys understand what I'm saying now? Here's my proposal. If we go to the moon, this is what we need to do. We need to take advantage of the vast wealth that the moon has under its grounds. It's confirmed that the moon has tons of gold, tons of silver, all sorts of minerals, and all sorts of natural resources which could make every human on the planet a billionaire. Now, I'm not saying that we should do things like that, because if everyone on the planet was a billionaire, the economy would crash. There's better ways to fix this rigged economy of ours, and one big way is to go back to the gold standard, and also the royalties which governments take from natural resources should be distributed to every individual of the respective country. But going back to space, the profits that these minerals could provide for companies or for NASA or for nations itself, that profit should be used to fund space exploration and space colonization. Now, why haven't we done that yet? It's very simple. Our politicians are too afraid to push their budgets over a cliff for space. Now, I'm telling you guys that space is incredibly important, because this Earth is not going to stay here forever. One of these days, this Earth is going to completely burn up. We're going to turn like Venus, and it's going to fall into the sun or something like that. We are not going to stay here forever. It's not going to happen. You can count on it. No planet can stay alive forever. No sun can stay alive forever. So we need to find ways to be able to be a spacefaring people. And to do that without breaking our budgets, we start with profiting off of the vast wealth that space has to offer. And I suggest we start with the moon because the moon is very close to us. It's 3 days away. We don't have to go to asteroids or anything. I mean, I heard on an article that there's an asteroid out there which is incredibly wealthy. We don't have to go that far. It's not necessary. We have a moon that's 3 days away. We can start with the moon, even if we send an astronaut out there with a shovel or something to extract that wealth, bring it back to Earth, and use the profits to fund space exploration and colonization. It's the exact same thing that the colonizers did back in the old days, the Europeans and everybody. You heard of the British East India Company and all these different companies. They would go out to places like India, Africa, the New World. They would get the wealth, the sugar, the coffee beans, all sorts of different things in the New World and in Africa. Rubber. They'd bring it back to their European countries. They would get a profit, and they'd use that profit to build colonies, to build villages, to build places where people could move from Europe to move to India or to the New World or to Africa. That's what they did. Now we can do the same thing. But the problem is that we as a human race, we're not taking ourselves seriously anymore. Even the white people. I know white people think that they're somehow the best. You all aren't doing it. In fact, if anyone would, the closest people who would probably do that would be the Asians. But even I haven't seen them do anything serious as of yet. I mean, the Chinese, they're supposed to be so smart. I mean, why haven't they got to the moon yet? They haven't. And by the way, people say that we haven't been to the moon because, one of the proof is that the flag was flying. The flag wasn't flying. First of all, when they were putting it in the ground, it moved. I mean, it's going to move if people handle it. But there's also pictures of the astronauts walking around and the flag is completely still. It's not down. It's still. You can't do things like that on Earth. So we're not even going to get into that. That's nonsense. But the Chinese, everybody, the whole human race is to blame for all of this. We're acting worse than the ancient Africans before slavery and before all of that. I mean, look at them back in the old, and even now, I mean, look at the Congo, for example. I mean, it's a sin and a shame that a country with so much mineral wealth is one of the poorest nations on the planet. But we're doing the same thing. I mean, we're not that stupid. But I mean, we could be so much better. We could be so much greater. And I know all the excuses out there. We've got problems on Earth that we need to handle first. It's not a priority, this and that, yada, yada, yada. You know what y'all sound like when you say those things? You sound like the ancient Native Americans. You sound like the ancient Africans. And I'm not trying to be offensive, but it's true. That's exactly what you sound like. All of you that's exactly what you sound like. White, black, Chinese, all of you sound exactly like them. Exactly. So don't say that you're superior because you're not. You lost that a long time ago. And one of these days we're going to have aliens come down here. They're going to see how far behind we are when you had people like Arana Nation telling you how to do it and you didn't do it. And the aliens are going to say to themselves, hey, you had this Arana Nation telling you how to, and you didn't do it. We're going to enslave all of you. Y'all are going to be slaves. Every race, every religion, you're all going to be slaves. Muslims, white people, all of you. And then you got people like Donald Trump, who's talking about Space Force. Well, weaponizing space. Okay, so the leader of the free world isn't talking about profiting off of space and using the profits to fund space exploration and colonization. He's not talking about that. He's talking about using space to kill people. So, he sounds like an African chief. He sounds like Muhammad. He sounds like a witch doctor. I mean, that's what he sounds like. And you Trump people who are about to get offended and write me nasty notes, you all are the villagers who are chanting with the witch doctor. You're acting like the Zulus and the this and that. You have the chiefs and the princes and this and that. They're, oh, let's go kill. Let's go kill this villager. Let's go kill this tribe. Let's go kill this. You guys, and then you villagers, you go, la, 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 la. That's exactly it. And then I come along and say, hey, wait a minute. Don't listen to this chief about killing. Let's do something productive. And you all kill me. You're sounding like a Zulu. You're sounding like a Muslim. You sound exactly like how you're sounding. So what's it going to be? Are you guys going to be productive explorers like Christopher Columbus and Lewis and Clark? Or are you guys going to be witch doctors and chiefs and villagers and no-gooders who are going to end up being enslaved or wiped out if you guys don't get your act together? Which is it going to be? Lewis and Clark or witch doctor? Choose it. This is what we need to do. This is how the next space race has to be. Let's follow in the dreams of men like John F. Kennedy, who talked about doing serious things with space, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Let's do it! And this is the Arana Nation. Don't be a villager who's going to end up a slave, pouring whiskey and picking cotton on another planet for aliens. Follow Arana Nation, and let's be the next Lewis and Clark and Christopher Columbus.